how cute is this skirt? So I feel proper sassy, proper girly, and proper ready to have a chat. I tend to only really make advice videos when I feel as though I've reached a point where I've kind of grown a lot recently or learned a lot recently, or I'm at a good place regarding the thing that I'm talking about in the video. Like, I shouldn't really give advice if I feel like I'm in a bad place when it comes to the thing that I'm trying to offer advice about. So I feel like I've kind of come to a place where I feel a lot more comfortable when it comes to my friendships. I feel like I have less of a doormat approach to things. Like, I feel as though I don't kind of let people walk all over me anymore, and maybe I used to do that, or maybe I used to kind of have quite a strange concept behind what I felt like a friend actually is. And it doesn't, I feel like it takes a while to kind of get to that spot, and I'm not even that old yet, so I feel like when I reach another age I'm going to be like, wow, I still had no idea. Because, you know, different experiences you go through in life and different ages and how long you know somebody, you kind of experience different things to truly test how your relationship is with people. And a deeper relationship, a longer relationship, and a relationship where you've like gone through really tough times in your life kind of make you truly show what a friendship truly is and what it actually means. I don't know everything, but I know a whole lot more than I used to. That being said, I feel like it's really important to mention, which I feel as though most people, there's a wasp right behind my head, thank you wasp. Most people tend to feel as though the amount of years you've been friends with someone equals to, I guess, the kind of amount of level that your friendship should be with them. So if you feel like you've known someone from childhood, that means that someone that you met like a year ago doesn't and won't ever mean as much as the person that you met as a child. And I feel like that's something which I had to sort of learn from, because I was lucky in that someone I did meet at such a young age is still my best friend today, but that has nothing to do with why she's still my best friend today. Whereas I have some friends that I've known for a long time, and we're kind of like on off, and we hang out like every so often, and they don't truly mean so much to me, but I held on to them for quite a long time because I knew them for so long, and because we had many happy memories together. And that also links to think that the memories that you have with someone, with like a group of friends or one person in particular, just because like they were linked to you with such like cool and exciting and happy memories, that doesn't need to mean that the friendship needs to be held on to forever for the sake of old memories and for the sake of stuff that you went through together, because that's not like what holds a relationship together. And there are some friendships that are only gonna be around in your life for a year or 2 years, or even like 6 months, 5 years, and that's okay. Like, we don't necessarily have and build friendships for the sake of holding on to them for the rest of our lives. And sometimes we just need certain people in that point of our life, they need us in that point in their point of their life. Like, our personality at 20 years old resonates with their personality at 19 years old, and once we reach like 3 years down the line, we might change as people and we might not be as compatible as friends anymore, and that's okay. And I feel like that's a very important thing to mention, because I feel like a lot of the time we hold on to things that we believe should be because they always have been. And this isn't just about letting go of old friendships. Like, I'm not saying that you know, things that slightly go wrong have to be abandoned completely, because sure, things should be worked on and stuff, but it's about kind of understanding your worth and realizing whether something serves you anymore. I asked on my Instagram what sort of worries you guys had when it came to friendships the most, and throughout the majority of the things that came through from you guys had the keyword worry in them. The majority of the issues that you guys have with friendships is there's worry involved. And remember, worry is never actually a physical thing. It's something we have in our brain. It's not a physical form. It's something we either make up and assume it's that way, but it's not actually that way, or we worry about something before it's even happened. So it's just anxiety at the end of the day towards something which we don't actually know how it will pan out yet. A lot of people worrying that you like them more than they like you, so you're putting in the efforts. A lot of stuff about one-sided friendships, so the ones where you feel like you're the only one putting in the effort. So that kind of like anxiety and worry and overthinking towards the sort of stability of your friendships is the stuff that I feel like I want to talk about most, because at the end of the day, friendships aren't supposed to be like that. A lot like relationships, like this goes to with every kind of connection with another human, you're never supposed to question how you feel in that situation. Like the minute someone has like doubts in their relationship and you know, they've gone weeks wondering whether it's the right thing, I feel like that's sort of like the starting point of the ball rolling into a place where it's kind of just a bundle of like unsureness and uncertainty, and it should never really truly feel like that. Like if there's anything that you guys need to work through as friends, then it shouldn't ever feel like a chore, or you shouldn't ever question whether it's worth doing, or if you're putting a lot of time into someone and wondering whether it's worth it, or wondering whether they'll appreciate it, then the chances are like your gut's telling you that, because you know that they're not really the type to put all their time into you, and you know that they've in the past seen your efforts and not really understood or seen them as valuable. And I think that's kind of where I had to sort of get to really understand myself, which friendships meant the most to me. And it's tiny little things at the end of the day. It's never big things. Like we see a lot of stuff on social media where it's like true friends will like drive to your house at 4 in the morning when you're upset, and fake friends will text and ask how you are but never do anything about it. I mean, sure, there's obviously a lot of truth in that, but at the same time, it's people who, with even if they've got a busy schedule, it's people who are able to understand that you're valuable enough in their life. Their busy schedule isn't more important than checking up on a friend. If you're one of those people that constantly worry about your efforts and whether they come across as annoying, and whether they're not something that your best friend or just an acquaintance or a friend is looking for, then I don't know, this might come across as a bit controversial. I don't know how people are going to respond to this, but I feel as though you should always be kind of like, it should be more natural than that. I feel that the minute you're worrying about whether they're going to appreciate seeing you, you have to kind of ask yourself, what's making you feel that way? Like, why would a friend of yours not want to see you? Have they said something? Do they do something? Do they not put enough effort into your relationship? If it feels one-sided, I'd really just ask yourself if that kind of constant anxiety and worry about the friends that you're making is something within you, if it's just an issue within yourself, because you might feel like that with everyone, like even family, even your boyfriend, even your husband, for example, someone that's literally married you, and you're still like, you don't want to hang out with me, I understand. You should ask whether that's, you know, an issue within yourself, or if that's a literal problem that somewhere lies in your friendships. And I think there's no such thing as having like too many attempts at making new friendships. I feel like people would join like a friendship app, or they would join loads of clubs, or they would just try and get more social, try and make a few friends, and then when they kind of flopped, they just assume they're, you know, a bad friend, it's never going to work, you're never going to find good friendships, and you're never going to have a friendship group, you're never going to have a best friend. If you've grown up until you're like 25 years old now and you've never really made a best friend before, you just assume you never really will. I think people kind of tend to see friendships a lot like relationships. They assume those ones didn't work, they're broken, they're a broken person, they're not able to make good committed friendships, therefore they should stop trying. But like I said, not only is our compatibility with other people going to change sometimes because our personality kind of develops as we get to certain ages, but also our situations change. So like we might all of a sudden kind of want to have a friendship group that goes out clubbing more often. We might want to have a friendship group that doesn't and wants to stay in and watch Netflix and just have takeaways and stuff. And our kind of like search for what we want tends to change depending on how life is going for us at that point in time. The sun has really come out, so he's either disagreeing with everything I'm saying or really agreeing. And I think what kind of made me get to that spot was realizing that slowly through progressing through different kind of relationships at different points. So there's obviously like childhood friendships, and then there's school, and then there's college, uni, and then sort of work, and then kind of like life friendships, as in when you get to that point in your life where you're like, oh, this is a lot harder to make friends outside of school than it was before, and it's a lot harder to make friends when you're an adult as well for some reason, because as a kid you generally like bond over the fact you both go to the same school, and you kind of learn who you are as a person with those friendships. And when you get to an adult, you're a bit more sure about who you are as a person, so it's harder to find people who are compatible and understand you as who you are, this like developed adult, this human who is more sure of themselves and doesn't have like a base to kind of connect with people. There's work, but then you're only bonding with that person over work, so you're probably not going to have like a huge amount of... Oh my god, a little robin has just joined the table next to me and it's so cute. It's going to be hard for you to find similar hobbies. Okay, he's flown away. He's like, yeah, I can't find friends. I know how that feels. And another thing, I feel like there's different types of friendships too. And I say this because I have a few friends that I see regularly when I come visit back home, and they're like school, they're not friends from school, but they were friends that I made whilst at school, and every now and again I'll see them and I'll like make a little bit of effort to go and see them, because I know that when I do see them they're a lot of fun and we've had cool memories in the past and stuff. But at the end of the day, like it took me quite a long time to realize that they aren't really, I wouldn't class them as like true friendships. Like they're not deep, like thorough, strong friendships. They're kind of just like people that I like to hang out with sometimes because they're a lot of fun. And I also think that's okay, because I feel that maybe we sort of get a bit attached to people in our lives, thinking that we should connect with them in a way where it's potentially building like a best friend bond. You don't have to be on that kind of level with every friendship that you have. I feel like you can be friends with someone who you just like to hang out with because they're a laugh and you have drinks, and every time you hang out with them something crazy happens. It's okay to have that kind of friend that you would do all that sort of stuff with, but you would never ever tell them like your deepest darkest secrets. And then you'd have like another friendship who is a bit more calm and doesn't like drinking, doesn't like going out, isn't too spontaneous, but they're really trustworthy and they're good at advice. I think that's also important to remember, because if you do worry about your kind of level of value that you hold in that person's eyes, I think it's important to remember that somebody can be friends with you but not necessarily meet you eye to eye about how much you guys want to hang out with or what you want to do. Sometimes it's the way it is, and that sounds kind of shitty to say, because in no way am I saying let people like boss you around, or don't worry if someone doesn't want to see you all the time, because it's just the way they are, and then you're there all the time like trying to arrange stuff and they're like letting you down all the time. I'm not saying that. It's kind of about understanding that people work in different ways, I think, and when it comes to being in a monogamous relationship, you don't have that. Like that one person has to sort of be compatible with you in many more ways than one. And you kind of need to see eye to eye with how many times you want to hang out, how the relationship needs to go, and how you both work as people. But when it comes to friendships, it doesn't really need to be like that. Like you shouldn't be too fixated on one person. And when you kind of have that more open nature and sort of relaxed vibe when it comes to making friends, that's when you meet your best friends. That's when you meet people who are compatible, who have that exact way of thinking than you do. Like you might be someone who wants to see friends all the time and you can't live without like having people around you. You love company. You will meet someone like that eventually. If you have that more like carefree attitude, you go out and socialize, you do things actively to make friends all the time, and you don't stress so much about the first person you meet being your best friend. Because someone will eventually fall into your lap and you'll be like, wow, we have a lot in common, and you also want to do the same things as I do for the same amount of time, not too often, not too little, and it's great. But also, can I just stress that compatibility doesn't need to be the stereotypical kind of compatibility. You don't need to have the same interests, you don't need to have the exact same like way of life, you don't need to think the same about everything. Once again, just like relationships, you don't have to be too similar as people to work. It's more so once you have that relaxed way of seeing life, you can kind of analyze the things that friends will do for you as days go by, as weeks go by, as months go by, and to help you understand your level of value in their lives. As I've said this plenty of times on this channel now, one of my best friend I've known for years, so that's very typical, like since I was little, and we got on quite well when we were little, because you tend to get on quite well with most people when you're little. Without a doubt, she makes the best amount of effort towards me than I've ever known anyone to do. Like I'm even talking like partners here. Like, she goes above and beyond when it comes to the small things, like making sure that I'm put somewhere in the middle of her busy schedule, the little things she'll do during like special occasions to make sure that I'm having a good time. She'll always be there to celebrate with me for the things that I've achieved, and then she'll always be there when things are shite and they've hit the pan, and she's there like waiting with a hug or a chocolate cake or something like that. We don't have a huge amount of stuff in common. We are probably the furthest away you could get as people. Like, we are very different, not only to look at but as personality types. But I've always favoured friendships who are a bit different to me, because I like being pushed out my comfort zone. So I quite like having crazy people as friends, because then it makes me kind of do the things that I wouldn't have done if I was friends with someone who's quite shy and reserved and doesn't like doing much. If I was friends with too many of those types of people, I would probably never do anything, and the friendship wouldn't really grow too much because I wouldn't really do much with them. So that's another thing I feel like people kind of restrict themselves to. They maybe get a bit frightened of differences, or they assume that because someone looks a certain way they won't get on very well with them as a person. And I think a lot of this boils down to self-worth at the end of the day, because a lot of the issues to do with worry is because we're not sure what we deserve. If you truly know what you deserve as a person, and you know that the time someone chooses to make for you is obviously appreciated, but obviously you can't feel guilty of that. Like, if someone chooses to put a lot of time into the relationship the friendship that you have, that's good, and you should remember that, and you should hold that with you, and kind of use that as a guide to remind yourself in the future of who was there and who deserves your time too. Because we tend to put so much of our time into so many different people, because we want to make them feel good, we want to build better friendships, and we want to prove ourselves to other people. And if we like chuck all of our time into someone, they're eventually going to realize that we're a great friend. But you need to remember that your time is just as valuable, and it's like kind of pouring water into a cup constantly. Eventually it's just going to overflow, and it's all going to go down to waste, because it's going to overflow and it's going to fall onto the floor, and it's just going to disintegrate, evaporate. It's not worth filling up the cup if it's just gonna spill. But also realizing what you deserve as a person, what not only your own value is, but your friends as well. Like, if I was to stop putting the time and stop putting the effort into my greatest friendships, then I would truly deep down feel like I don't honestly deserve them. So it's a give and take situation as well. I think that's so important in friendships. It should never be one-sided. There will be a few cases where one of you might need the other a bit more. We go through crap, and sometimes we need someone else around a bit more than usual. But if that's always the case, like if they're always needing you and they're always asking for help, don't just kind of do it because you feel like that's what a friend's supposed to do. If you don't feel as though they would do the same if they were in your shoes. And honestly, to me, it is the little things. Like I said at the beginning of this video, sure, it would be nice to have a friend who could drop everything at 4 in the morning and like run to my house if I needed something. If you can find someone who would do that at every second of their life for your entirety of the relationship, then good for you. But I feel like actions like that don't really last a lifetime, if I'm being honest. It's the little things, I think, just sort of noticing whether a friend makes sure they include you during a night out, just giving you eye contact when you're in a situation that you might feel uncomfortable, just to make sure you're okay. Posting a card in through the door when you're experiencing a time which they realise might be difficult, even if you didn't say it out loud. Like, they just know that now will probably be a difficult time because, for instance, they may have lost their nan this time last year. Little things like that, I think, go so much further. But don't be afraid to kind of have fun with it. Like, I don't think there's such thing as having like too many friends or trying too much to make new friends, to really truly socialize and put yourself out there. And it's okay to make multiple friends at once, and it's also fine. Like me, I've moved away recently and I've tried to like put myself into situations where I'm opening myself up to new friendships, because you just don't know what can happen, and you're not contracted or binded to anyone because of any reason, but maybe because somebody's told you that you both will get along really well, so you kind of feel like you have to be friends, or maybe your friend's partner is going out with your partner, so you feel like you probably should be friends. The minute you are sort of just stressless and I feel just become more relaxed about the situation is the minute the true ones kind of start sticking out. Like I said, there's different kind of friendships. Like, I used to feel that the people I knew the longest and had the best memories with, some of the friendships that I've had in the past that I have the best memories with, I don't have as good memories with some of my truest friends that I have now, and that's all right, because that's just like the way life went. Like, I might have gone through a really cool load of stuff with some old friends at 16 years old where things were quite exciting and new, and when you get to an older age, you might not be doing as many like new and exciting things. Like, you might just be bonding over the fact you've both had a baby, for instance. Like, you're gonna have a different kind of level of memory with people and different types of friendships over time, but that doesn't change anything to do with how good the friendship is. What truly matters, I feel, is the visible actions that you can see taking place because you are a valuable thing in their life, and you take note of that and cherish it and don't let it go, because there's so many other people that would love that and you're taking it for granted and not really doing anything about it. So understand whether that's happening enough in your friendship to give it in return, and then when you do give it in return, do it with all the love that you possibly have, and don't feel guilty about whether you're annoying them or whether they want to accept what you like, all the time you're giving them or the actions you're giving them, unless you have reason to feel that. And if you do have reason to feel that, then perhaps that effort and those actions will be appreciated elsewhere. Communication is probably the answer to most issues in life, really, particularly when it comes to worry. If there's anything you have a doubt about, just speak to them, and honestly, all it takes is the first person to be honest and put their heart on the line and say something that might be a bit cringy, they might feel a bit anxious about doing, they might feel as though like they can feel themselves cringe in saying it. It will snowball. It will have a snowball effect of the other person feeling like they can be honest now, or they should be honest now because that person has, and your doubts can instantly be changed because you've made that choice in saying something. And that goes to say when it comes to friendships in general anyway. The best kind are honest with each other. They say it as it is because they would want the other person to be honest with them too. And that goes for deep things and also for little things like, does this outfit look cute or not? And I feel if you are, this is kind of silly and going off tangent here, but if you're friends with someone that is always going to say like the nice things to you and always just come like, oh yeah, you're doing great, or like, yeah, you look lovely, oh, you did really well, as much as it's nice to kind of have those words being told, I would stop asking that person for advice because I know they're always going to be nice, and I would go to the person who's like brutal and be like, what are you doing? You need to sort that out, obviously in a nice way, but honesty at the end of the day is the best policy. And obviously if they're not just being an arse, like if they're actually being honest and not just taking you for a ride because they know you'll take everything they say literally. I hope that helped in some way. And if you're someone who's looking for friendships right now, join clubs, join groups, organizations. There's loads of, like, the internet is amazing now because of the internet we can find interests that we have and join some clubs. Even if you like a breed of dog, you can go to a meetup now with all of those breeds of dogs and you can bond with people there. Something to do with sexuality, they do meetups for that. Or clubs for hobbies that you're into, like art clubs, sport clubs. And there's friendship apps. I've made a video about me making friends for a friendship app. That's Bumble, by the way. I highly recommend Bumble. I think it's amazing. It's Tinder but for friends, and I'll always rave about that now. I feel so much kind of better for myself for building new friendships. I feel a lot more confident, and people in my personal life have seen that in me. They can tell I look and sound more confident now, and I really think that's because I put myself out there a bit more and made myself more open and available to new friendships because I was holding on to old ones for whatever reason. But at the end of the day, I'll still see them, like I'll still hang out with them every now and again when I want to because they're fun people, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're worth all of my time, and I understand that we're maybe not as compatible as we used to be. I hope I explained everything really well. I felt like this was just a waffle and me kind of thinking out loud, but if you would like to see more videos like this, as always, let me know in the comment section what you'd like me to talk about. I'm on social media such as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and I stream live regularly on YouNow. I have shirts and I also do tarot cards. All information on that is down there. Subscribe to this channel to be notified every time I make a brand new video, and I will see you guys in around about 3 days time. Bye bye.